So just walk me through what work have you done on the engine and the tuning
Ideally,
aspect and everything else.
once we look at the engine, everything looks OEM-ish. So again, starting from the ECU, this has a custom stage 3 map from Speedsport.
Okay.
We've got a larger turbo. But in terms of making it more reliable as well, we're running a lot of cooling mods. And again, to make more horsepower, ideally you need more air and you need a better exhaust.
Correct.
So we've got the BMC carbon fiber intake here.
Okay.
We've got custom plumbing from Speedsport. This is one of the only Polos in India which is also running a intercooler.
So when you say custom plumbing, do you mean the whole mechanism of the fuel flowing and all that stuff?
Not the fuel flowing, in terms of the inlet pipes or in terms of the coolant flowing, air flowing and all. That has all, because ideally when it came from the factory it was all plastic and brittle. Here it is all stainless steel, which was done by Speedsport. Another thing, it is a water cooled. We've added like a parallel system with the intercooler, because this gen of Polo never came with the air cooled engine. So this is one of the only ones which is running an intercooler. There are, I think, 3 or 4 more which Phil did at Speedsport, including his INRC Polo as well.
So no, are you trying to say that normally the same Polo stock does not have an intercooler?
No, it does not have an intercooler. It's a water cooled system. Slightly the air to air keeps it better. So we're running.
Because I was under the impression if there's a turbocharger in the engine, you need to have an intercooler.
It is better in terms of keeping the temps down. But ideally this did not come, because for that 108 odd-ish horsepower which came from the factory, it wasn't required. So I think Speedsport is the only one in the country who's been able to develop and run this system properly.
And the turbo is a stock turbo?
It's a stock turbo from the 1.5 TSI engine, like the TSI Evo engine. So it's a larger turbo than the standard one. Again, the intercooler is from Mishimoto, BMC, carbon air intake, custom plumbing, turbo smart BOV. That is more or less what's there in the hood of the car.
And the turbo is made by whom? Garrett?
No, the turbo, I think OEM Volkswagen, I think Garrett or some other manufacturer. It's an OEM turbo which you can buy from the Volkswagen dealership if you want it.
And how much more potential, according to you, does the turbo have right now?
The current turbo, I'm saying we can push or something maybe like a 240, 250 horsepower easily from it, while keeping a certain amount of reliability from it.
And earlier you mentioned something about the modified cooling mechanism also. So is that the intercooler that you were talking about?
That is the intercooler and the piping which is coming in. So it's running parallel to the water system. It's the parallel water system is not gone. We've added the intercooler in terms of working parallelly with the entire thing. No one else, I think, in the country has been able to do it till now.
So it's water cooled and intercooled?
Yes.
And you've got custom plumbing, and you've got carbon fiber aftermarket air intake. You've got a stage 3 remap also. So just this is giving you about 200 plus.
Yeah, this, then a custom downpipe and a straight pipe exhaust along with a Varex end can. Because I wanted a Valvetronic. At the end, the 1 liter doesn't sound great anyways. So whenever I'm running in city, I can switch it off. It'll be like sounding like a stock car. And whenever I open the valve, it is completely straight piped.
And downpipes? Do you have
downpipe? Yeah, the custom downpipe. The full exhaust is made by Speedsport.
Full free flow.
Yeah, full free flow. Only the Varex end can.
It didn't sound loud enough, because normally if you have like a full straight pipes exhaust system, it sounds loud as hell.
Because the valve was off right now. So this was in the stock setting. You can open it in 7 different steps and to fully open.
I wonder why you call it a go-kart now. Perfect. And tell me one thing, I mean, after doing so much of work on the performance, in terms of linear power delivery, has it made it better or the lag is still there?
So we're running a slightly larger turbo. What happens with the larger turbo is the initial peppiness is gone. The turbo again spools slightly later. But again, what happens in the stock car is that after the medium rev RPMs, it dies down. For right now, like once it spools, up till the red line, you have linear consistent power.
Starting from 1000 RPM or
not starting from 1000 RPM. Like initially, I think the smaller turbo spooled around 1500, 2000 RPM. Right now, the spooling range would be 2500, 3000. From there till about red line, like I think it goes up till about 6.5, 7000. It will be consistent, continuous power.
And even before 2500 RPM, it's not that bad that you would hate it on a daily basis.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Just walk me through whatever works you've done on the suspension, the chassis re-strengthening and stuff.
Ideally, we didn't require a lot of chassis re-strengthening because of the purpose. Like if you have a good set of coilovers, I think 80-90% of your work is already done. So we're running custom spec gaps coilovers, which was supplied by Speedsport only. And again, in terms when we're going faster, we need to stop as well. So we're running a set of AP Racing BBK. So which is a 4-piston caliper and larger rotors that we're running. And on the rear, we're running the OEM GTI disc conversion because ideally this came with the what do you call this, drum brakes. This again, we've done that conversion.
Oh, you've done a disc conversion at the back?
Yeah. And again, the wheels in terms of, I think it's more for...
because the front brakes are drilled and this thing slotted. But the rear ones
that's the OEM ones because again we've got I think we've gone overkill in terms of the braking upgrade with the AP kit.
I don't think there's anything overkill when it comes to stopping.
This is pretty overkill. This is almost, I think, the size of a OEM RS rotor. I think some 345 mm. This is a similar kit what I'm running on my RS, just with a smaller rotor size.
But then tell me one thing, with all this power and all this kind of stopping power also, don't you think it's probably flexing the chassis, and which if you can avoid by adding some bracing and chassis re-strengthening, that would just give you better performance?
I don't think the chassis, I don't think that is required because at the end, these cars, like 200 horsepower for this type of body is a lot. Like it doesn't flex, it doesn't happen. The coilovers control that entire
because from what I can understand is if let's say you're taking a corner at BIC, let's say at 150 and you're sticking to the ground. So probably after bracing, I mean, I don't know, I'm just discussing things. If you have a stronger chassis setup also, apart from the suspension works you've done, you might be able to take that turn at 170?
Not necessarily. What ideally we would look at it, because I wanted to explore that side, because my RS in terms of build, we've got everything that any aftermarket supplier would supply for that car, barring the chassis reinforcement, barring one upgrade, which was the rear carbon fiber based from Racing Line. Ideally, if you look at a track time, this again, I've heard it from a lot of friends who do a lot of rallying and a lot of track experience, is like even if you have a good set of coilovers which are set up properly, you wouldn't require a lot of bracing which is there. Like for example, even if I added a full ultra racing kit or something like that to my RS, the lap time would not be even affected by maybe like 1 second. It would be maybe a millisecond or something like that, which I don't feel is a requirement. Plus, once you're adding all those bracing, your daily drive or the daily ride quality also goes for a slight toss.
Fair enough, fair enough. Just walk me through the audio setup that you have, because it seems quite crazy.
So again, the intent of buying this car was for doing audio, but I had the thought in terms of keeping it very clean. I didn't want a lot of wiring. I didn't want a lot of stuff. So we went again with a 6-channel amplifier. And again, at the end of it, I wanted it very hidden. But a common friend of ours wanted to set it up in a particular way, which he's set up right now. That he wanted it slightly visible also, because we use some decent, nice stuff. So what we're running right now is a 6-channel amplifier from Zapco, which is 150.6. We're running 2 sets of components for the front and rear. The front is a Morel hybrid.
The rear is also a two-way component?
It's a two-way component.
Front also two-way and rear also two-way?
Correct. So rear again, what we're running is Morel Virtus. Plus we've got a DSP in terms of the entire thing. You've already got an episode in terms of the audio bit, why a DSP is required and all. And we're running a Gladden SQX subwoofer.
But I think you really need to use the DSP for all the good reasons
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what about the damping? Because I'm sure you've done a lot of damping.
We've not done a lot of damping because what was required was primarily in the boot, and like I think the doors weren't required at all. We've only done damping on the boot to stop the vibrations and all. Barring that, I think the Polo has a strong enough body. So other damping, it wasn't absolutely required. Because we could have gone ahead, but we've used certain sheets just at the back of the speakers.
Understood. Because I remember talking to a few people. I mean, they've done some hell lot of audio upgrades, very similar in nature, like front 3-way and rear 2-way. And some people who have done only front way and no rear speakers. and a subwoofer and this entire kind of setup, but they are running on vehicles like JDM vehicles or Korean vehicles. So they've done shitloads of damping, and this is something very similar. What you just said, they also say that, you know, WAG cars or German cars usually don't require that much damping because of the build quality.
See, ideally, a lot of guys who do audio, like a lot of shops based in multiple markets, will try to offload and sell you whatever they can and to make money.
True.
But again, with good, whether it be for car tuning, for audio tuning or setups, people who they don't try to oversell you stuff. If it is required, we would have definitely done it. Because it's a minor cost compared to the setup we've done. But it wasn't required. The only thing which required, the only thing which rattled was the boot, and that is the only thing, that is why we've damped.
The boot is damped.
Yeah, the boot is damped.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Rest, I think the build quality was decent enough, so we didn't get any rattling, vibrations or too much external noise in terms of putting in damping sheets.
I think rightly what you said earlier, both of us, I mean, because you're also from SOS probably before when even I entered SOS actually. And I think that way we're pretty blessed to have friends in this industry who are actually running shops, but at the same time we get a fair bit of guidance, what is required, what is not required.
To correct you on that, I'm not from SOS. I was more of a SOS fanboy. Rather than anything, I didn't have fancy enough cars or quick enough cars in terms of being in that group at that point of time.
Oh, give me a break. But I joined SOS with an Innova.
So that perception...
Let's not get there. I had an Innova with a spoiler and black rims, glossy black HRS rims. And I still remember somebody walking past my car, probably it was Ricky or I don't know who, they called it Pimp My Ride. So yeah, minus that, I think we should feel pretty blessed, like people like Subhan and Ricky, and they are at least there to guide us on what's to be done, what's not.
Even, in fact, the wrap, the first thing I did on the car, since again, it was a color
this is done by Ricky, is it?
Yeah, this is done by Ricky.
Okay.
So the car first went to him in terms of getting a wrap. And we chose a color which was very close to the OEM color. Like, for example, if it's not in direct sunlight, like it's in direct sunlight or in shade, it looks exactly like the OEM color, barring those certain times where the sun rays are going to hit at a slightly different angle.
Then it becomes a chameleon.
Yeah, slightly not what I usually prefer in other cars. But this car was something which was an experiment or a fun thing that we were doing.
Perfect, perfect. So, I mean, one thing I'd like to talk to you about, which many people who are owning Polo TSI engines particularly, that they just feel, or in my opinion, they have this misconception that if you end up tuning the engine, or let's just say in simple terms, if you end up remapping the engine, you want more power, it harms your engine. So, could you probably elaborate on that?
See, ideally, if you look at it, first you need to consider what map you're getting and what tuner you're going to. So, for example, if the map is not developed right or something, it will have problems. Right? For example, my car has done 15,000 kilometers after it was stage 3. It got stage 3 at 400 kilometers. There is a friend who's almost run 55,000 on a stage 3 car, dailies it every day. There's another one, I'm talking about a stage 3 Polo, which is done 40,000 without facing any issues. See, ideally, if you're tuning, remapping your car, obviously your service intervals are shortened because you'll be driving it quicker, faster. Again, you need to timely service it and all. Second of all, you really need to go to a proper tuner which knows what they're doing or what map they're putting on. There have been various instances and all where I've seen people blowing up engines, turbos, multiple things. That is just about pushing the limits too much or not mapping it right. If you get it done by a proper guy or a proper tuner, there is no problem at all. Like I said, my RS has done 58,000 kilometers. It is constantly run on stage 3. I've taken it everywhere. There have been no problem barring the basic wear and tear.
Got it.
Again, with the Polo also, like mine has done 15,000, never faced an issue. I can get it serviced at the factory whenever I want. Doesn't need specific parts. Again, friends who've run cars much longer without facing any problem. But again, that tuner, the tune is very, very important in terms of what you're doing.
Also, I mean, this is something that I'm just putting across to you. Just correct me if I'm right or wrong on this. That even if you get, let's say, a stage 3 tune on your car with all the bells and whistles put, like the turbo upgrade and intercooler and this and that, the engine would actually wear out faster only if your pushing the car to, utilizing the entire stage 3 tune, or even if you're doing like a general city drive, which you would in a normal stock car also?
It would not wear out quicker. Okay. But you tend to push the car more. Right. Hence, if you maintain it better, that engine will last almost the same duration. Oh, for example, if it's maybe running 100,000 kilometers, it might run 90, depending on how well you maintain the car.
So in the sense, instead of let's say servicing the car at say a 15,000 kilometer interval, if you have a heavy right foot and your car is tuned, you might want to get it serviced, for example, on every 10,000 kilometers.
Maybe similar. Like for example, if I'm pushing this car more, it has to get serviced at maybe 10,000. I get it done at 5,000.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So ideally, that tenure, like if I'm running it normally, not pushing it at all, I can get it serviced at the regular intervals itself.
Fair enough. So looking at what you've done to your car right now, I mean, we already have a list of all the mods that you've done. What next do you think is possibly possible in this car?
If you spend the right amount of money, you can do endless upgrades to it. Okay. Like for example, you can go for an engine swap, you can go for a bigger turbo. But for me, I think this is an ideal build. I wouldn't want to push it more. Okay. Because at the end, you have to factor in a lot of things. Like for example, if you do an engine swap, people are willing to do it. But again, the reliability again becomes to a question. Like there is a lot of discussion on the RS thing as well. Because in a front wheel drive car, once you're pushing that 450, 500 horsepower, you can't put down that power. It doesn't make it necessarily quicker. The only thing you can do is drive faster, maybe after 120, 150. But initially, it's not usable power. Okay. In terms, if I want to extract more out of the RS or this, like for that car, I'll have to make it all-wheel drive. Okay. But if I'm spending 15, 20 lakhs in terms of making an all-wheel drive car, I would rather buy the next platform, maybe an Audi TT, which has the same engine.
But then tell me one thing. I mean, I know for a fact that the Polo itself has come out in India. Let's talk about India only. It's come out with a multiple set of engines. So even the GTI, the GT TSI, the GT TDI, which used to be there 1.5, if anybody wants, would it be too much of a technical disturbance if somebody is to put, let's say, instead of this 1 liter in this car, I don't know, a GTI 1.8?
Maybe if I look at a 1.8, the engine would be what, if you're buying a brand new engine, 5-6 lakh rupees. Okay. Or even a 2 liter engine if you're looking at which the RS runs. Right. That can be planted. But then again, you'll have to go through a lot of complexity in terms of the wiring, the ECUs and rest of the stuff. But let's assume that someone's already doing that. Let's assume the Polo is some 8.5 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees. You spend another maybe 20 lakh or 15 lakhs building it. Why not get a pre-owned RS which already has that engine, has that reliability, and you'll reach those same power levels.
Yeah, because again, like you mentioned, that the plumbing, the cooling system, everything it needs to be made according to, to be able to handle the output, or let's say even the input in terms of fuel and air of that 2 liter or a 1.8 liter engine.
Absolutely. So at the end, that build cost, I would obviously go for reliability over, rather than I've built something, I've spent that money, time, effort. I would want to run it daily without a hassle. But in terms of doing that, there is a certain cost to it. But while something which is already there, available as a package, at the same price, I wouldn't go through that entire process.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think there are tons of things that we can continue talking about all day long. For now, I think let's call it a day.
Absolutely.
But thanks a lot.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, man.